Hello YouTube, welcome to our weekly stream. Hope you enjoy our recording. As usual, we'll be giving our idiotic, no, I won't say idiotic.
For yourself. You can use
I will be idiotic as always, because I'm always idiotic. No, come on, I'm just kidding. It's to get, anyway folks, let's get going, because we know that Paul has to leave early, and we only have an hour and a quarter before he goes. So let's get going. I'm all set up. Ted, are you ready?
I'm ready to go, Moira.
Okay, let's hit the road. 3, 2, 1, go.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, Toastmasters, would-be Toastmasters, listeners and friends, and you're very welcome to this week's talk show for talkers. On irishtalkers.com. Our email address is info@irishtalkers.com. You can also find us on Facebook as the Talk Show for Talkers, and we always look forward to your comments, questions, feedback. We regard this as evaluations. You can also listen to previous shows on our website, irishtalkers.com. We also publish the Public Speaking Weekly, and this is a roundup of links from the internet. It's all about Toastmasters. It's tips on public speaking, how to gain confidence, how to develop your leadership skills, etc. So look out for that newspaper link on our website. My name is Ted Melamfi, and I'm joined again this week by the persuasive Paul O'Mahony.
Well, listeners, it's a delight to be with you again, and I hope your ears are well tuned, because today's podcast episode is the best we've ever recorded.
Well done, Paul. And not only is he passionate, but he's also motivating. And we also have the multi-talented and also motivating Moira O'Brien.
Well, the multi-talented and motivating Moira O'Brien is multitasking as always, which is why sometimes things go very badly wrong in this podcast. But I'm delighted to be here. It's a thing I look forward to every week, and we'll enjoy your company.
Well done, Moira. And just to share with our listeners, actually, Moira was gracing the competition stage last evening, and she squelched her way through a fantastic speech. And I'm sure you're all going to get an opportunity to see it at some stage, because I'm sure Moira will publish it for us, and we can all learn from where to get the type of props that you need to be convincing with a humorous speech, or with any speech for that matter.
Well, I'm certainly going to publish a version of that speech. I'm not sure which one I will actually publish.
The good one.
Well, yeah, I think yesterday's performance was better than the day before, but the day before was a better video.
Yeah. And so I can just imagine what the next version will be. That will even be better again. You'll be blown away maybe by it. You'll have wind in the scene as well.
Well, I think that speech is worthy of development.
And just make sure that he gets represented, because the reason he mentioned Moira O'Brien was in a contest last night is because he was in one too. He wanted to make sure that he wouldn't be let out. So I want to tell you that Ted was in sparkling form, and I can tell you, as the only person who kept his mouth shut all night and didn't say a single thing and barely and watched the two of them get better and better every single day. And that's why I said this is going to be the best episode of the podcast ever. Over to you, Ted.
So thanks very much, Paul. And we don't show any bias whatsoever on this show, so let's keep it neutral. So on today's show, we'll have the usual mix of the thought for the week. I will be giving you the thought for the week. Paul will be giving us some fantastic word that we'll be able to use. And both Paul and Moira will be giving us their own offerings for today. For instance, as I mentioned, Paul will be giving us the word of the week, but he'll also be giving us a very good topic that he's going to tell us about. It's all about quality, and not just at competition time or contest time. It's right throughout the year. And of course, Moira usually gets herself tangled up in things, so she will be giving us tangible tips for table topics, for terrific table topics. It's almost a tongue twister. all the T's that are in there. So we're looking forward to that. And I'm going to go straight into my word of the day, or sorry, not my word of the day, my thought of the day. So my thought for today and for this week actually is that the only person you should try to be better than is the person you were yesterday. So the only person you should try to be better than is the person you were yesterday. Paul and Moira, do you agree or disagree?
Well, now I know why you didn't win the contest last night, because you weren't really trying. You weren't trying to be better than the other contestants, and I have to say that's very commendable. So apart from that smart aleck remark, I think it's a super encouragement to everybody to be on a continuous improvement effort, personal and professional development throughout our lives. I like that emphasis that the real contest is with yourself. It's what I've always followed every year I've played golf. I've never been playing against other players. I've always been playing against my former self. So I have to say that I have personally recommend Ted's quotation this week, which is a pretty unusual thing, I think.
Yeah, thanks, Paul, for that. In actual fact, I think Maura may have given me the person who came up with that quote, because I couldn't see it attributed to anybody when I pulled it out.
Well, actually, Ted, I found it attributed to two people, but the person that I finally settled upon was the one who came up in more quotes, in more links than others. But
Okay.
yeah, and it was, I've forgotten now his name, Matty
Milan, was it, or something like that?
Matty. Let me look at the web page.
Would you just
Matty Mullins, Maura.
Matty Mullins, yes.
Matty Mullins lives down there in West Kerry somewhere.
Yeah. I'm not
Can you
sure
just
who he
remind
is.
us of the quote, Ted? Just remind us of the quote, because I'm in Kerry now.
Okay. And it's a nice quote. It's a nice little one to live by, actually. The only person you should try to be better than is the person that you were yesterday.
Yeah. And that's it's a good motto to go by, because
Yeah, so
we
if
should
you know,
always...
we are, and you mentioned it earlier, Mario, about mistakes and the value of mistakes. And if you don't make a mistake, you don't make anything.
That's
and
right.
you don't learn anything either, because those of us who are afraid to go to the rock face will never understand what fear is. And that's how you actually learn. So I think this is a lovely one, that if you do something today and you're giving out to yourself about it, don't be too hard on yourself. You always have tomorrow to make up for it.
Yeah, I agree. So it was really a scintillating quote, I think.
Yeah, that's a lovely word, Mara. That brings
Isn't
us
it
over
just?
to Paul, I'd imagine.
I wonder where it came from.
Oh, what a segue. What a segue. Listeners, did you hear that? Such a smooth transition from being in County Kerry, trying to be better than how you were yesterday, through to something that is sparkling and glittering. So there's the introduction to the word of the week. Scintillating. Don't try and spell it. Get out the old dictionary. It's a very misleading word. If you're able to spell scintillating, you're in the top 1% of spellers in Toastmasters International. I'll spell it for you now in a second, but glittering, glistening, being sunny, being twinkling, being sparkling, shimmery. All of these things are synonyms. So you might, bedazzling, there's a good one for you. So if you want to say about when you're doing an evaluation of a speech, you've been, quite, your mood has changed for the better. And you think that the speaker has used surprisingly brilliant body language and props. You can say, I've been bedazzled by the speaker's ability. And somebody's going to be impressed. And it's a lot better than saying, I really like the speaker's ability. I've been bedazzled. And it was an incandescent performance. Anyway, let's go back to spelling. Scintillating. S-C-I-N-T. S-C-I-N-T. I-double-L-A-T-I-N-G. Scintillating. Two errors spellers can make. They forget that there's a C at the beginning, so it's S-C-I-N-T. And then they might overlook the fact that there are two L's. So scintillating, bedazzling. Now, let me ask my two collaborators, when did that word enter the English language? Please?
Well, I would say 1342.
Very good guess, Moira.
I'd say the 16th century, Paul.
Moira's guess was really good. It was so wrong, it was just ridiculous.
I love it.
Ted's guess was ridiculous. He was talking about last week's word, but this week's word entered around the time of the French Revolution.
Oh, that's interesting.
Exactly.
Oh, I see.
Oh,
Okay.
there you are. Well, okay, it wasn't at the time of the French Revolution exactly. It was 1793.
Oh, close. Close.
1793. The word was the first known case of using the word in English. Now, I can tell you something, that it was also the first, the same time as the word one-sided was introduced into the English language.
That's interesting.
There you are now. Who would have guessed? So scintillating, bedazzling, brilliant. You know.
It's an exuberant adjective, isn't it?
Well, now we're moving. When you move to exuberance, it's much more to do with sound, probably.
But scintillating sounds beautiful.
Scintillating is just one of those superb words. And that indeed is a scintillating, bedazzling tie you're wearing today, Ted.
Thank you very much, Paul. You're great vision, because I'm actually not wearing any tie.
How dare you insult my imagination?
I've tied up in knots now, haven't I?
The listeners have no way of knowing, and I am entitled to imagine you wearing a proper tie.
Well, that's true.
Oh.
I think you're getting mixed up with last night. I had my nice tie on last night.
Well, folks, this is a scintillating conversation, but I'm afraid I'm going to bring it to a close as we come to the end of this particular section. But we will invite you to rejoin us at the same time tomorrow, when we will be playing a very amusing speech, a really enjoyable one from YouTube. So do join us again tomorrow. See you then.
Scintillating, Moira. Scintillating.
I caught that too,
Thank you
Ted.
for that, Moira. Yeah, Moira, I think we played this speech before, but it's very appropriate.
I don't remember it, Ted. I don't remember it, Ted. I don't remember it.
Oh, do you know? I think we played it before. All right, no, 'tis a fantastic speech. We should nearly play it at least once a year.
It is. It's very funny. It's very funny. I did listen to it.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful one for anybody who are going into humorous speech contest.
Yeah.
How you can take little bits of Shakespeare and turn it to your advantage.
Yes. Yeah. Right. So I'm just doing my housekeeping. If I can.
Ted, just a small point then while Moira's doing that.
Right.
I think it's going to take Elizabeth Jordan, who has an awful lot of things on her plate this year as the public relations manager for District 71. It's going to take her a lot of time before she's going to be able to come up with suggested people for you to interview who are vice presidents for public relations.
Okay.
Remember that she has said that she's told the vice presidents for public relations that she'd like them to be interviewed. I suspect she has just so much on her. So I think it might not be a bad idea if you took a bit of initiative.
Yes, I agree.
You know, because the more people we have, leaders, particularly outside the district leadership team, but particularly around Ireland, England, Scotland and Wales, particularly the more of them we have, the bigger the listenership we'll get.
And there is another gentleman, Paul, that I'm really looking forward to having on the show with us, and we being on his show. That's Greg Gazan.
Have you been in touch with him, Ted?
I sent him not an email. He sent me something on Facebook, and I replied to it last week. And I kind of gave him the hint how we can get in touch with us, but I haven't heard any more since.
No, the man has been trying diligently, and
I responded.
I think an email, Ted. I see he contacted us by email.
I think a phone call.
Yeah, or even a phone call. I'll have to get his phone number. So yeah.
We're all forgetting phone calls.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
Bring back the telephone.
Yeah, bring it back, yeah. Do away with those mini computers we're walking around with.
Those Zoom things are taking us off the telephone.
That's true. You're right.
Indeed.
Yeah. No, think how much better you and I get on the telephone rather than here on Zoom.
Yeah, that's true, actually. Yeah. But this facility on Zoom and the advantage and the learning and the education that we're getting from Zoom because of this COVID, I think, is incredible.
Moira, are you ready to play the speech?
Yeah, well, we need to...
How long is it?
It's quite long. It's 12 minutes. So I think...
just do the outro.
Yeah, we'll do
the intro and the outro. We'll go straight into Paul, yeah.
Yep.
Do the intro and outro, and then you can hand over.
Yeah. Okay, Ted, are you ready?
Yes, Mar, I'm ready.
3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome to our second offering of the week with the Talk Show for Talkers, and this is the spot where we introduce a guest. Now, I'm going to introduce you to a lady. Her name is Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and this is an acceptance speech when she was the winner of the Mark Twain Prize. And the Mark Twain Prize is like the Oscars of comedy. So Julia Louis-Dreyfus was nominated for it, and she walked away with it. You might remember her. She used to be on Seinfeld, and she's a very, very funny lady, a fantastic actress as well. So I want you to listen to this. And as we always advise, you can look at it on YouTube as well, so you get all the body language. So for those of you in humorous contest mode, this is one to watch and to listen to.
Okay, Ted. I'll cut the intro down a bit.
Okay.
Because it's a lot of opening applause.
Oh yes, that one I touched on with my intro. Yeah.
Oh well, I always cut you down a bit, Ted. You know that.
And that'll take a minute off it or something. Like.
I like to shave a bit off your shoes.
Yeah, that's good.
Which you do very well. I want to add in.
Yeah.
You can
make it being 5'8", I'd be about 5'6.5".
I don't always have the time to do the edits. I know mine.
You've listened to it, have you?
My section last week didn't get edited because I ran out of time.
No, Mara, did you listen to it? Did you listen to this speech?
Oh yeah, I listened to the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and did you listen to it, Paul?
No, I didn't.
No, well, I'll advise, have a listen of it. It's a fantastic speech. Or better again, look at it on YouTube. It's a fantastic speech.
Okay, I'm going to do the outro, folks.
Okay, well done, Mara.
Let me just...
We're belting along now at a nice pace.
We are indeed. Quality assurance. Okay. Do join us again tomorrow, where at the same time when we'll be bringing you our next segment, which will be Mr. Paul O'Mahony, who is going to be talking to us about quality assurance. Join us again tomorrow. Okay, that'll do for that. Right, Paul, are you all ready?
I am. Yeah.
Good. Greetings, Toastmasters, would-be Toastmasters listeners and friends. You are very welcome to part 3 of the Talk Show for Talkers here on irishtalkers.com. Let me just remind you of our email address is info@irishtalkers.com. You can find us on the web as irishtalkers.com and on Facebook as the Talk Show for Talkers. It's time to hand over to Paul O'Mahony. And Paul, this week is going to be talking about quality assurance today and throughout this year. I'm curious, Paul. Do enlighten me.
Well, Moira, the reason I added the word today after quality assurance was to try to make it a little bit more interesting than if it was just quality assurance. And then I thought to myself, that's not really going to be interesting enough. So I'll add a little bit more. That was, and throughout the year. Because I thought, well, some people will be saying quality assurance today, that'll be no use to me tomorrow. So I better do something about it for the future. Many of you listeners weren't at work in the 1970s. Or else you can't remember what it was like. And more of you can't remember the massive and huge change that took place during the 1980s in relation to how to produce motor cars. The relevance of this is that up until the 1980s, what happened on the production line of a motor car in a motor car factory was that the production line ran, all these cars were being produced, and at the end of the line, there was an inspector, the quality inspector. And the quality inspection team would examine the motor car and decide whether it was fit to be carried on and eventually to be sold or not. And the ones that were a bit defective, they were taken away to be recycled or reworked. Then along came the Japanese and found a way of designing quality in rather than inspecting quality out. Think of that. The difference between designing quality in and inspecting quality out. In the old system of inspecting quality out, nobody had the power or the authority to stop the production line in order to fix something. You left everything go past, even though it had a defect, because the inspector would take it away at the end. The Japanese discovered that you could actually design quality in, and that is how the term quality assurance was born. Let me leave out a whole lot of the rest of the history, except to tell you that what was radical and novel and revolutionary and caused a complete transformation in factory production lines in the 1980s has become old hat in the year 2020, and just about everybody is surrounded by quality assurance. Except you very seldom hear the word mentioned in Toastmasters International. Why? Why do we not hear more about quality assurance in Toastmasters International? And what on earth does it mean anyway? First of all, in order to work out what is quality assurance in Toastmasters International like, we need to consider what is the mission of Toastmasters International. What is the reason for existence of Toastmasters International? Many of you, of course, do not need to rush to your governing documents. You already know that the mission of Toastmasters International is to empower individuals to become more effective communicators and leaders. Very simple, to empower individuals to become more effective communicators and leaders. That's the mission. In other words, we provide a communications and leadership service to people who want to get more confident and achieve more personal and professional development. That's my words, the last part, a paraphrase. Okay, so that's the production line. We aim to invite people nicely onto a production line and let them get off anytime they want and stay on the production line for as long as they want and achieve personal and professional development. But how do we design quality in? I've been thinking about this because we are really and truly, when you think about it, quality is at the heart of everything we do. Could it be said that everything we do is quality assurance? Is that too radical? Okay, quality assurance starts with your brand. You have a brand, and everything you do to protect your brand is quality assurance. I think that's easy enough to accept, isn't it? If you don't protect your brand, everything else will fall apart. Toastmasters International has a brand. It's what it stands for. It's its reputation. It's its values. It's a Toastmasters promise. It's all its systems and procedures. It's all its symbols. It's all its identity. Secondly, it has a culture. We have a culture in Toastmasters International, and the maintenance and the fostering of the culture which we have and are so proud of in Toastmasters International, everything we do to ensure that that is healthy and its integrity is preserved, that is all quality assurance as well. And thirdly, in relation to these things, leadership. The existence of leadership, the nature of leadership, the quality of leadership, that is all quality assurance. Unless there is leadership, things will fall apart. Things will deviate from the required quality. Every bit of the organization will be doing its own thing. There'll be no consistency. Everything will become incongruent. And that ends the possibility of achieving the mission. So they're the big words: brand, culture, and leadership. Now, let me get down to the nitty-gritty in relation to this, and this is the reason why I brought it up. Okay, quality assurance, training for members, that's quality assurance. Unless members are given training, there's never been so much training. Club committees, they're the people who usually get training. Members of club committees, if training isn't given, goodness knows what can happen to the quality. But a small amount of training is given. We're a voluntary organization. It's not like as if we can afford to train everybody, or in a voluntary organization that people would even be prepared to give masses and masses of time to training. But every single bit of training is about quality assurance. The support that area directors give to clubs, to club committees, continuously throughout the year, that's all quality assurance. Without the support and guidance, things may go perfectly well. But that's an accident. Things may, when the system works really well, the quality assurance system works really well, the area director has great rapport with the club, and particularly the president, the vice president for education, but also the whole committee. And that's before we get on to other things. The area council, where all sorts of clubs are involved, that's quality assurance. Visits by area directors to clubs. Why do they do it? Area directors visit clubs because that's a quality assurance role. They're going down to observe and see what the quality is. They're going down to help the club nip in the bud things that are going off in the wrong direction, keeping things within the parameters, not rigidly fixing everything. Every club has its own character, but one of the things quality assurance does, it calibrates what's going on. There's always variation, but it keeps the variation within acceptable limits. That's what quality is about. No two products are absolutely identical. No clubs are identical, but all clubs have certain things they're trying to achieve. Contests, all the efforts that are made to run contests. Contests are an opportunity for people to achieve personal and professional development, but they need to be run well to achieve that. So all the efforts by area directors, division directors, and all the rest, all the guidance notes that are given for chief judges and for contest chairs, and even for timers and sergeant at arms, all quality assurance. Checking that somebody's eligible to go in for a contest, and all the ways of doing that, the software that's available, all quality assurance. We've got an academy in District 71, a training academy, a learning academy for Zoom, but also for other things, all quality assurance. The 18th of October, by the time you hear this, it'll have happened. Next Sunday, We're running a quality assurance event. Anthony Garvey, the District 71 Chief Judge, and myself are running a quality assurance opportunity. It's to provide guidance to contest chairs and chief judges and club presidents about contests and the roles, because we're some way through running contests and there are people who are being contest chair for the very first time. What's being done to help them to assure that their role is played in a quality way? That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about quality assurance throughout the whole of the year. Everything we do on Sunday at this quality assurance 90 minutes session guidance will be totally relevant to the next round of contests. It'll be relevant to the remaining area contests. It'll be relevant to the division contests. We need quality assurance and we need to design it in continuously throughout the year, not just running it the night before, or certainly not doing it at the end of the year, saying, here are the 25 mistakes we made during the year that we mustn't make next year. No, design quality in. Well, Ted, I think that's the end of this particular segment. I probably chewed up all the time because of my passion for quality assurance.
I think you did very well, Paul.
Excellent, Paul. What time is that? What time is that on?
What time?
3 o'clock.
What time?
Sunday afternoon.
What time?
3 o'clock on Sunday afternoon.
Can we record it?
Oh, it'll be recorded. My God, yes, you can.
I'm going back to Spain for 2 weeks.
Good on you. The Spanish need you.
I'm travelling out on Sunday at 3 o'clock. But I certainly look forward. I think you've made a very relevant point about the way things are being done, not just in this area, but in all areas of Toastmasters. It is kind of lastminute.com in a lot of situations, and there's no need for that. And that's where the division director and the area directors should be sitting down a month before any contest and planning it and talking about these kind of things. I'll give you one small example. The bio sheet that we're asked to fill out. Effectively, I think that bio sheet should not be given out until you get to district level, because there can be a conflict there, particularly for contest chairs who don't really appreciate or realise what that bio sheet is for. That bio sheet is for the benefit of the organisation, Toastmasters International. And it's only used if the contestant gets all the way probably to the World Championships, where they can use that information, you know. Sorry, Paul, you have your hand up.
Yeah, quality contests, quality speech contests do not have table topics in the middle of them necessarily. What they have is an interview by the contest chair with each of the contestants.
Yes, that's right.
This prepares the contestants for the interview they'll receive at the next level. And it also gives contestants an opportunity to practice the skill of answering questions in front of a public audience.
Okay.
It's last year when we did the Area 3 contest, there were interviews with all of the contestants. I conducted them myself.
Right.
And I conducted them in order to prepare people for the fact that they would actually, at the winners at division level, would be interviewed. And they were, because I interviewed them.
Yeah, very good, very good.
And it was great practice for me, because I was contest chair at both of those things. It was wonderful practice for me to be able to ask questions. So it's, unfortunately, I didn't do my job as well as I could have, because I didn't make sure that I would explain to all of the club contest chairs what the purpose of that information really was. So
that was great.
I have learned, and I'll be doing my very best on Sunday to explain to contest chairs what a wonderful opportunity that biographical information gives.
And that interview only takes place after the contest, doesn't it?
Correct.
That's excellent. And not alone is it good information for you and for the contestant, it's also fantastic information for the audience.
Yes.
To know that this person is involved in this, that, or the other. Yeah, it's fabulous.
On that note, I'm going to call this to a halt because we will otherwise carry on this conversation forever. Join us again tomorrow at the same time when I'm going to be talking. What am I going to be talking about, Ted? I've completely forgotten. Isn't that terrible? No, I'm going to be talking about table topics. Bye for now. The tangible tips for terrific table topics. Yeah, I know, Ted. I know. I just forgot it for one second.
Well done, Moira.
Come on, folks. Can you not see the screen? I've been screaming finish since the end of the segment, which was 5 minutes ago. Come on.
Was gold. There were nuggets that Paul was referring to there.
Yeah,
nuggets.
Maybe so,
but every area.
Oh God, I'm still recording. I do
and
try. I do try to keep this show under control.
Chief judges and stuff will be great as well. Information for chief judges in your thing, Sunday.
I do try to keep this show under control.
Okay, off your
and, you know.
And there's a good reason too, Ted. It's because that if it gets out of control, the extra editing time that Moira has to put in, because she has a template.
Well, it's not just that, Paul. We're trying to keep these segments to a concise-ish length. We don't want to make them too long because...
That wasn't part of the recording. That was a chat we were having after the recording.
Well, okay, I could cut the whole lot, but as you say, there was some interesting bits in there. I'll just
Paul brought his section to an end, and Paul and I were having a conversation about...
Okay, sorry, guys, Moira will do a terrific job. I know that. I've total and absolute confidence. Let's record part 4.
Wish I had your confidence, Paul. It's the time, Paul, that it takes. It's not.
I know.
Paul, you'll be introducing Moira now as the best section of the whole.
Please don't. I find that embarrassing.
No, I don't find it embarrassing at all. I don't mind because we don't hear you until the Monday. There's nobody listening to it on a Monday.
Look, Ted, it's one of the most listened.
Well, it goes out on the YouTube live, yeah.
It's one of the most listened to segments. In fact, it may even be the most listened to segment on the show.
Let me tell you something, folks. I don't know.
Let me tell you that I love you.
Our audience stats have suddenly doubled over the last week or two. If you are listening to us on the web, folks, I want to say thank you to our audience, because not only are we getting up to 30 people listening to the replay of the stream, which is very nice, we're also getting substantially more views to our podcasts. And Anchor, which is our platform for streaming, has told me that we have actually doubled our audience in the last month or so. And I mean, some shows have managed to get fantastic views.
Brilliant, but we doubled it from what, Mara? If normally we'd have one.
Well, I'm not giving out because we don't know exactly what our audience size is. It's very difficult to gauge.
Right.
Can we go on to the final segment?
Yes, we can. We can, and we just have enough time. If I can finish setting myself up. Ted's gone, which of course is par for the course, isn't it? So we go to there.
Oh, he's got a weak bladder.
I know.
Let us not be.
I'm not. No, I wasn't. It wasn't a criticism. It was just a statement of fact.
Ted's bladder. I think that's a private matter. I don't think it should be discussed in public.
I'm not discussing it in public. You are.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I wish I could
That's
make
the
a
way it
huge
goes.
speech.
That's the way it goes. Let's start then, shall we?
Absolutely, Murray. Count me down.
Yeah, we'll leave Ted as is. Okay, are you ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
I hope you've had a wonderful weekend, listeners. It's wonderful to have you back with us for the fourth part of our show this week. This is going to be a scintillating episode. I can't promise you that it'll be the best episode for this week because I've been briefed that that is setting up our speaker too much. But what I can promise you is that unless she's going to perform in a different way than she's performed during the last 25 years, this is going to be scintillating. Moira O'Brien, you're going to tell us about how to come up with a table topic, I understand.
This is going to be a great case, Paul, of do as I say and not as I do. Because, folks, I didn't manage to get beyond the club table topics session, which was very sad, because I pride myself on my ability to respond to table topics. We won't talk about who did get through, but okay, I will give in. And Ted Melanphy managed to get through to area. Unfortunately, he didn't manage to get past the area, but that's life. That's life.
One little point, Moira.
Yes, Paul.
Listeners empathize more with failures than people who succeed. So I wouldn't feel in any way that you're losing the audience.
Okay.
I think you're ahead of the game as a failure.
Okay. Well, I wouldn't call myself a failure because, as we know, in order to win the World Championship of Public Speaking, amongst other things, you have to fail many, many, many times first. Unless you are Craig Valentine,
come in there, Moira, and just add to what Paul said. When you want to fail better.
Yeah, exactly. Craig Valentine was the exception, the 1999 World Champion of Public Speaking, because everybody hates him because he won it on his very first attempt in his first year in Toastmasters. But he's a fantastic speaker, and he always was. So let's get back to table topics. Now, what I'm going to give you today it was prompted by an article, a very good article on a website called icebreakerspeech.com, and I'll link that in our on our webpage because it's worth going there and reading the article. As always, I'm not reading the article, I'm merely taking hints from it to pass on the best to you that I can. Okay. When you're given your table topic, you have 30 seconds to think. Pause. Give yourself that time to think. Okay? What are you going to think about? You're going to think about an opening, a body, and a conclusion. Now, get to the point. Forget about greetings. We don't have to say Madam or Mr. Contest Chair, etc., etc. You don't need to say that. You don't actually need to repeat the question. I'm pausing there because you have to think a little bit about that. It depends how you're going to attack the question. If you're going to say, yes, I agree that, di-da, you repeat the question, and you then go on to say why you agree and give examples, etc., then okay. But you could just dispense with that repeating of the question completely and go straight into your speech. Now, I know a lot of people will repeat the question as a way of giving themselves a little bit of extra time to think about the question. Certainly that's something that I do personally. I find it quite useful that I can use that to get my thoughts together. Next point. Answer the question. Don't go off on a tangent. Now, in our division, we know of one or two very good table topics responders who give the most wonderful speeches, table topic speeches, but they don't actually answer the question. answer the question. If you don't, you should be marked down. Remember, it is a speech. So it should have an opening, a body, and a conclusion. And in the conclusion, always try to refer back to your opening or back to the topic itself. And the normal speech rules apply. Use vocal variety. Use body language. Use the stage. Do exactly the same as you would in any speech. Now, something that I picked up from this icebreaker, whatever it is, I've forgotten the name already, isn't that terrible? icebreakerspeech.com, which I wouldn't have thought of. And he says, always, always, always have a call to action. And that's an interesting point, because we make that statement when we're talking about normal speech making, and especially competition speeches, that we should always have a call to action at the end of our speeches. But I wouldn't have thought that that was so for a table topic. But why not? Why not? Because it will lift your table topic up to a much higher degree. So try and get that call to action in there if you can. Now, 8 strategic structures to answer table topics. Well, I'm not going to go through all 8 of them because that would take too long, but let's go through a few of them and let's just see if we can tease out some techniques that we can use in our table topics. And the first one is a mnemonic: PREP. Point, reason, example, restate point. And this is the most common method that we use to answer a table topic. And most people do this without thinking, because it's a logical and easy way of doing it. Maybe they don't give an example, maybe, but I think most people would. They would go through, they would state the point, they would give their reason for stating their position on that point, and then they would try and find an example or a quotation or something that links to the point. And there are techniques for doing it. You can say, I agree that such and such and such because, and there was a time when, and that is why. Okay? So all that just ties it up very neatly. Another way of doing it is to be a neutral person. You don't agree with the topic, you don't disagree with the topic. So you state your neutral point. You say why you are being neutral, why you're sitting on the fence on this. And you explain both views. You say the people who agree, they agree because this, that, and the other. The people who disagree, these are the reasons they disagree. And then you go back again and you state your neutral point. Okay. Let's see. Timeline method, past, present, future. This is quite a good one. It's a good one to bear in mind because it can often dig you out of a hole. If you really have trouble in formulating a really good answer to your topic, what happened in the past? How is that different today? And what are the good things or the bad things about how things are today? And how could we make it much better in the future? Or how will it change in the future? And as always, have a conclusion which is going to relate back to the original topic. And I quite like that one. I have used it reasonably successful in the past. Now, there's one here that I've not used, and I do quite like it. He calls it the zoom method. And this is going from the micro to the macro. So you have a topic which you can deal with, let's say, from a personal point of view, which is, this is how this particular subject affects me. Or And you can then go on to say, however, if I look at this in the broader context, how does this apply to, let's say, everybody living in Ireland or in the United Kingdom or in America or the world? So you can do it from the very, very, very small and specific up to the very broad. That's quite a nice way of doing it. Now, the one that I like most, and I'm currently working very hard to build up a bank, and that is the storytelling method. We all have stories. They're almost inbuilt in our psyche, aren't they? We have stories about our life, and what we should be doing is having a notebook and writing down in that notebook all the possible stories that we can think of that we can reproduce either in table topics, as we're talking here, but also to develop into speeches. I've come across a number of times when I've given a table topic response and then thought, that's actually a good subject for a future speech. So I write it down and eventually I develop it into a speech. So keep your notebook handy. Always keep your notebook handy, because as you go through life, you're going to come across things that are worth noting down and worth repetition and development. Now, as a last, Paul is showing me his notebook. As a last thing, you all have access to the judges' guide and ballot for every contest. There, you can download them from Toastmasters International. So when you're doing or going into a table topic contest, have a look at how the scoring is allocated. And you have 55 points effectively for speech development and effectiveness. Speech development is 30 points, effectiveness 25 points. Your physical appearance on screen is 15 points. Your voice with flexibility and volume is 15 points. And the last bits are far less important. How appropriate is it to your audience and your speech purpose, and how good is your pronunciation and word selection, etc. There's only 10 points and 5 points respectively for those. So you don't need to pay too much attention to those. Obviously, speech development and effectiveness are the most important bit. So if you have a good structure to your speech, you're going to do better than if you ramble. That's it. I hope you find that useful. Do go and read the article which I've linked in our website. It's well worthwhile going through in detail. He gives a lot of examples on each of his items, so I do highly recommend that. And with that, I'm going to bring this segment to a close. I'll invite you to come back next week when we'll have more gems for you. In the meantime, from Moira and from Turban Amphi and from Paul Omani, I'll wish you goodbye. Now, YouTube, I'm sorry about that. I can't do the stream properly whilst I'm no idea now. Is it that one? No. Whilst I'm trying to give my speech, unfortunately, it's very difficult to multitask, and I've forgotten what the keys are. I think it's that one. No, it's not that one. Anyway, you know what I mean, folks. Thanks for listening. It's been great to have you, and we'll see you again. Oh, Paul's just come back in again. Thank you, Paul. You've saved my bacon, because when you left the meeting accidentally, it screwed up my streaming things. And unfortunately, I'd been playing around with it because I have a few problems with controlling OBS and being able to do other things. I use hotkeys to switch my different views, and when I'm typing other things, it seems that the hotkeys also work, even though I'm not in OBS. Anyway, it makes it more difficult. So I've completed and signed off. So the show is finished.
Oh, I was hoping you'd do that. I mean, actually, this time I disappeared for a reason I've never disappeared before on a Zoom call. Well, no, I've never disappeared on this machine. My battery ran out.
Okay.
I forgot that it was getting low, and it just went bang. So
yeah. And well, we'll stop the stream now. Thanks for watching, if you have. And I hope you enjoyed it if you're watching it now from the replay. So we'll see you again next week.